When I was in high school, I actually misunderstood the meaning of the Immaculate Conception. I believed wholeheartedly that this mystery of faith actually referred to Jesus, that the Immaculate Conception was about him being conceived in an immaculate fashion. It was only later, when the new catechism came out, that I was able to look up the Immaculate Conception and discover that actually the Immaculate Conception refers to Mary. It refers to the fact that from the first moment of her conception, she is preserved whole and entire from all sin. This was declared by Pope Pius IX way back in the middle of the 19th century. And it's an important declaration because it tells us something about Mother Mary. It means that from the very earliest moments of her life, indeed from the first moment of her conception, she is prepared by God for her incredible task, the task of being the Mother of God. She receives this grace and many others as well. The grace, for instance, of being able to conceive Christ in a virginal manner. The reality of being faithful, always faithful. Even when others deserted Jesus and left him abandoned on the cross, she was there, standing boldly underneath it. She received so many graces, and she's so closely united to her Son in this reality. Sometimes Jesus is called the new Adam, and Mary is called the new Eve. That's because just as Adam and Eve lost for us the special treasures of God's grace through their disobedience, Jesus, through his obedience, yes, Lord, I come to do your will, obedience on the cross, dying for us, and Mary's obedience undoes the knots of disobedience tied up by our first parents, Adam and Eve. For Mary also, like Jesus, said yes to God's plan. Remember the Annunciation? Behold, the servant of the Lord. Let it be done to me according to your word. And she said yes to God. Her Immaculate Conception prepared her for an incredible task, and yet we ourselves are conceived in a new way. Maybe not the same way as Mother Mary in that wonderful singular grace of the Immaculate Conception, but think about our baptism. At that moment we are conceived anew, conceived fresh, as our sins are removed. Original sin, personal sins, removed through the sacrament of baptism. And that's so that we ourselves can carry out an incredible task. What is that task? To bring Jesus to others, to bring him forth anew. Just as Mary brought him forth from her womb, so by means of faith, we bring him into the lives of others by what we say, by what we do, being credible witnesses to Jesus Christ. We have received the great grace of baptism, newness of life in God, divine filiation, becoming sons and daughters of God. And it's not just for ourselves, not just for our salvation, although that's a wonderful thing. It's actually for the world, for everyone we meet. Today, remember the wonderful reality of the Immaculate Conception, that Mary was conceived without sin, and recall your own baptism when you were conceived anew. Recall that through the graces of that baptism, you are now able to be a child of God and to bring the love of God to others. May you always be faithful like Mary, even underneath the pain of the cross. May you always say yes to God and be bold and daring as a Christian. May God bless you on this wonderful solemnity.